Hello everybody, welcome to the second video of Thursday. This is going to be a Cavalier boss battles guide. What I'd like to do is once a month, I didn't do it last month, but this month is going to be looking at Cavalier difficulty, just some quick champions for the paths. There will be a Cavalier cheat sheet out later today, but this one is all about boss interactions, specials of the new champions broken down, some best champions, best counters for some of the other bosses, and top tips when it comes to this month's Cavalier difficulty. Let's get into this. I've also done a little bit of a write-up and should hopefully be doing some time code to be able to go to different sections. And yeah, check out the description because I've done a write-up. So a lot of the times I do put information in the description because there may be stuff that I've missed out in the video, or as well that looks to be more kind of write-up information that's a bit more specific. It kind of is notes, but go and check it out in the description. Let's begin with mission 1.1. So 1.1, this is all about science-based champions. Science attackers have a 20% chance per a weakness or exhaustion or fatigue on the opponent to inflict a fragility debuff on each landed attack. Fragility lasts 20 seconds. Whittled down, the defender takes 60% less damage while they have no debuffs applied to them. For each debuff on the defender, this damage reduction is decreased by 20% until it reaches 0. These debuffs can be on be of the same type. You've also got Pilfer, and that's really it. But also additionally, science attackers gain a permanent passive fury, increasing attack rating by 35% each time a debuff expires on the defender. So damaging debuffs or debuffs that expire are the way to go with this. I personally like my MVPs on screen right now. So that's Mr. Fantastic, Spiderman 2099 was put into this, and also Immortal Abomination. So in my rotation, Immortal Abomination and Spiderman 2099 are two key champions, especially when it comes to the monthly Cavalier difficulties, and are some top champions. The second thing to point out with this is the boss. Of course, we've got Ghost here. And with Ghost, I would say that this is a champion that requires debuffs. Very, very strange because she also shrugs off said debuffs at the same time. So champions that do high debuffs, so basically your path clearers, can be helpful in any situation. You could look to use the likes of Archangel, Nick Fury. But I mean, for me, I actually misread this and ended up using a champion that wasn't really the right champion to bring in, but it didn't really matter because it just got the job done, and that was Cosmic Ghost Rider. I was looking too much into Now You See Me, which is every 6 seconds the attacker is inflicted with Falter debuff and will get missed. So I was like, okay, well, I'll use Cosmic Ghost Rider because it's got the mechanic of the Vigilance buff, which stops and misfails the kind of like stuff that you would be hit off with Falter. So that was what I was thinking. I was like, yeah, I didn't really need to do that, and it was a very long-winded fight. But if it's stupid and it works, then what is it? That's right, it's not stupid. But yeah, debuff throwing champions might be the way to go with this, but watch out for those being converted or those being kind of like removed and stuff. But it's a very easy fight on rotation. Next up on 1.2. 1.2 is all about utilizing Mystic champions, Mystic consumption. There's a plethora of champions you could use for clearing the paths right here. Sorcerer Supreme, Symbiote Supreme, Black Widow, Clairvoyant, I think I said Symbiote Supreme, all the Supremes, Magik, both the Scarlet Witches. You know, the list goes on with mystics that can nullify things or kind of like do stuff that you need to. I've been enjoying using Scarlet Witch Sigil because when you do a block, you get a nullification. Obviously, not everyone's going to have Scarlet Witch Sigil, but I did hear a rumor back earlier this year that it would be entering into some sort of crystal. Whether or not that will be by the end of the year, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, maybe look out for that. In any case, moving on. So those are the options for the paths. As I said, full Cavalier cheat sheet will be at some other stage, and we can switch just straight to the boss, which is Dragon Man. I'm personally not a fan of this particular fight, especially because it switches the idea of what champion is the best one to use. If you're playing into the Rich Get Richer, which is whichever champion has more unique buffs gains 9% of a bar of power every second, it does put a problematic element to, am I taking a champion that gains buffs, and is that going to be something like Venom or a Cosmic based champion, which as we know gains a lot of buffs. Now, there is some options in order to counteract this champion. Also, do bear in mind, and one of the big stingers is the defender is immune to all forms of power manipulation. From what I gather, that's Power Burn, that's Power Steal, and I believe Power Lock. Now, that's the thing. I haven't tried out Magik yet. That would have been my alternating champion to try out with an SP2 or anything like For example, Nebula, that does a very easy SP1 power lock, especially with shocks on at the same time. But I tried out some champions and they worked. No, as we always say, if they're stupid and they work, they're not stupid. Black Widow Clairvoyant was one of the key options to utilization against this guy, and I just went into the poison mode, and that just suited me fine. I was rotating around doing that, and then removing and nullifying the power charge, I think it's called, not the power buff, but power charge that pops up. The biggest problem with Dragon Man is indeed avoiding those special attacks when they come up, so nullifying that or removing it is possibly, in my opinion, the best way to go. Now, you could go a different direction. You could look to, well, if you've got Magneto, then you can build up prowess, and with the champion being #metal, as it's a robot-based character, that should be another option to consider when taking this down. But you could go a different route with it, as I said, Cosmics, Mystics in order to suppress, you name it, with options to take down this guy. Now we continue our journey into 2.1. So in 2.1, this is all about cosmic-based champions, and this is all about Celestial Vision, which is that each time a cosmic attacker lands an attack, they have a 50% chance to get a vigilance buff from getting it, if you've got a unique buff, vigilance buff. Essentially, Hyperion, Venom, list goes on really, Odin, Cat Marvel movie, Medusa, any cosmic really that deals a lot of buffs and quickly can be incredibly helpful in order to kind of deal with this. And yeah, like Cavalier cheat sheet's going to cover that in a minute. Now we do have a problem. Well, we do have a sort of problem. I consider it a problem, and I'm not particularly happy about the fact that it's there. You cannot avoid going against a Terex. I kid you not. Like, you have to go and fight this Terex, and I just don't know why Kabam have put it in. They've put it in there to be annoying and just be quite, and slow everything down and be quite clunky. But that's just the problem with it. Sometimes that Kabam will indeed do that. So yeah, you've got to go to this stupid Terex. So you might need to put on your team a Namor as well. Like, the problem that I see with this is that it's not, it doesn't seem to have the Celestial buff on it, the node. So the Celestial Vision, it doesn't have it. So you are literally just fighting this champion kind of like, I don't know, a cappella, al fresco, whatever you want to, like, without any kind of like help, and it's just, it's annoying. Like, I don't know why it's in there. But in any case, maybe a Namor on your team to take it down, maybe a Magik on your team to help take it down. Magik is a great option against the end boss, which is a Silver Surfer, and Silver Surfer gets tenacity, a little bit annoying, not ridiculously. Truly great. Each well-timed block during a special attack grants the attacker true damage passive for each 10 seconds. There's also all the defender's attacks are guaranteed critical hits. That's Bob and Weave. Explosive personality. When a defender blocks an attack, they activate an armor up buff. So you know how to deal with that. Just be very kind of cautious. For me personally, it was just a case of using a mystic-based champion, and that indeed was kind of like Doctor Doom on the rotation. But Magik could use Black Widow Clairvoyant. Any champion that's able to suppress things like buffs, it's going to be helpful. Anything that punishes said buffs, like Morningstar, like many other Mystic-based champions, could be an option. But I'm sure the players will find, you know, just a keep to SP1 rotation on the enemy to kind of like make sure that you're not kind of like shooting to that SP2, which is the annoying thing. You end up having to over swipe that SP2. So SP1 and keep it there. Or power control champion options could be the way to go with it. Now, finishing off Chapter 2, and that's 2.2 we're on now. This is a fun one, you know. This is all about shock-based champions or burning and locking champions based on power, okay? So you have options here of who you'd like to use. For me personally, I decided instead of like going like, okay, well, let's just go shock effect on enemies or kind of like shock buff kind of route, I was like, nah, let's kind of like use some other stuff. And I ended up using for the entire path Guillotine 2099, which is a champion I've not normally used in Celestial, not Celestial, but in High Voltage. I've normally used other champions that build shock, like, you know, Warlock, like Hulkbuster, which I will probably go back to using, but I'd find it quite fun to do that. Nebula can be a great option for this particular path. Vision OG, if you have him as a 5-star, is going to be a great option for them, or the, you know, the Age of Ultron Vision. Anything that kind of does those power burn and other effects like shock. End boss time. This one isn't too bad, to be honest. So insult to injury, each debuff on the attacker reduces their defensive ability accuracy. The attacker gains plus 60% combat power rate while below 1 bar of power. The attacker's special attacks to deal 50% more damage, but other special attacks deal 50% less. While they're down, each time the attacker is inflicted with a non-damaging debuff, the defender gains a fury buff. And then while the attacker is under the effect of taunt, their crit rating is doubled. To be honest, any debuff strong champion is going to be able to do this absolutely fine. I personally opted for Archangel, but I was going to use as an alternative Nick Fury because class advantage, and also if he evades, then at least I've got tactical charges built in order to deal with that. So if you're worried about evade popping up when it comes to Mr. Fantastic, maybe have something that's got the slow debuff or suppresses the extent of evade, like the True Strike buff or something like that. Now on to 3.1. Now, there's going to be some top tips when it comes to the boss, because there's some stuff in that's quite sneaky and also quite annoying at the same time, and you may want to consider different options because there are some different ways to play it, okay? So the first thing to mention is that this is all about skill-based champions. Even better for those that shrug off debuff effects in order to build Fury passives. I like Crossbones for this fight, always loved them for this fight in particular. Jabari Panther's really good option. You could use Nick Fury. Any champion that builds critical hits quickly, like Shang-Chi, can be really good options, but also debuff Shruggers are also great options as well. This may be a month that you want to break out Karnak to give him a test on these particular paths because of his abilities. Now, end boss. This Icarus fight can be annoying. There's two ways that you could look to play this. Either it's a case of suppressing or stopping the extent of that unstoppable and unblockable, which is annoying. So whenever the defender gains a Fury effect, they become passively unstoppable for 5 seconds. Okay, that's annoying. But also, whenever the defender is immune to any effect, gain a passive Fury, granting 150% of base attack for 10 seconds. Essentially, you're going to have to look to avoid this particular thing. And also being immune to bleed, it also is relatively annoying depending on the champion you were choosing, because you might go, oh, this would have been a great option for using the Archangel, which is great against the Xerxes fight. It isn't against the Icarus fight. And a lot of the times I was finding this very frustrating, and it could be a case that your focus point may be in different areas. From what I gather, you can use the slow debuff to stop things like the passive unstoppable that will come your way. If you can't, then that is a bit of a problem. There could be a great situation where you look to use Sorcerer Supreme, because she's able to nullify and at the same time she's able to suppress quite nicely, and as well start with the slow debuff. It could be an option. But I found that any champion can potentially be an option depending how good you are to build the enemy's power, to let them throw the SP1 for you to avoid the SP1, and then punish that SP1 and then start that rotation, so you're just keeping the enemy to an SP1. I'm going to throw footage over the top of me speaking right now that showcases that in play, because I was having a real rough time with this, like a real bad time, until I started then looking into, right, well, if I just push this champion, he has Energize, so therefore he's going to build power very quickly or more consistently, especially with Kinetic Instigator. The opponent generates power when striking the champion's block. But also, if you're able to, whilst he's got Energize up, just keep that pressure on, and like he throws an SP1, I'll break it down slowly, so like when he comes towards you, he does this kind of thing where he kind of puffs out his chest. That's your kind of key to then come back in to hit again. I'll probably, as I said, like break this down slowly on screen, so he'll be coming in that rotation and then puff out the chest, arms spread, and that's your point to then come back in again and then start the process again to kind of build him to the SP1. It's a very slow and boring rotation, but it's an option to then take down the enemy. As I say, if people say it's stupid, but it works, then it's not stupid. Or you could just get hit and get some incinerates and then kind of like use a champion like, I don't know, Bishop, and then just smack the enemy down. But there are multiple options, it doesn't have to be just like that. And now on to 3.2, the final stretch, the final boss, and that is Xerxes. So for the path, this is all about using mutant-based champions. Any mutant champion really will do. I personally been using Apocalypse, especially because I want to build the Horseman synergy. Because the Horseman synergy was able to cheese Xerxes right at the very end, it did seem like a very cool option for this. And there's also other options for it. Now you can go the Mystic line with this in using champions, and that could be an option. You could use Mystic champions. You could use to suppress different ones. You could then look to power control. and using the likes of Doctor Doom, using the likes of Magik, Black Widow, Claire, Voyant, Sorcerer Supreme, Symbiote Supreme. The list goes on with available options in order to take down Xerxes. So yeah, it's all about the special attacks. And the special attack, one is all about these little kind of spike things that come up. When the spikes are really close to you, that's the point to swipe away. When it goes well, it goes well. When it goes bad, it goes bad. And I would say if it's difficult for you, just stay into the block, and the block will be good enough to kind of help you out. The other one, it comes with the SP2, and it's lava. Now with the lava field, I always used to, with the first time I went against this, the second time got better, but the first time, I'd make the mistake of swiping too early with a big bit of lava wave comes towards you. What you need to do is wait again till it's really close to you and swipe right at the last minute. I'll be breaking down these specials and throwing some kind of like slowed down footage on screen. Maybe I'll be doing something that's kind of like bad and also look at what is good, just to showcase the timing there on it. In any case, those have been the champions that I used and also ones that I would recommend as well. Thank you very much for watching this video. Make sure to come back a bit later on because we'll be doing the Cavalier cheat sheet as soon as I possibly can. I'm just going to test out some new champions that we've had added to the game and also kind of like improve the spreadsheet a little bit. So yeah, thank you very much for coming on by to the vid. Make sure to check out in the description the write-up of some of the things that I recommend, and also so yeah, also some other content located on screen right now, and I'll see you a bit later on for some more content. Might have a platinum pool related solo event thing to talk about, or maybe something else. Bye bye for now.